Today we are back in Gulu for the reparation ruling. The last time the judges listened to the submissions from counsels from the victims, the Attorney General and the prosecutions. So the reparation mandate of the International Crimes Division is very critical as far as our criminal justice system is concerned, because essentially it provides the mandate of the court to ensure that, first of all, the victims have an opportunity to have meaningful participation throughout the trial. Now, the inclusion of the reparation provision specifically in the International Criminal Court Act and the rules of procedure is very peculiar, because for the first time in our jurisprudence, victims have an opportunity to have their rights promoted and protected by essentially allowing them to have a voice throughout the trial, as has been in the case of Uganda versus Thomas Kwoyelo. Now, the basic principles of justice for violations of crimes and abuse defines a victim as a person or an individual whose rights has been violated either collectively or individually, and the harms that the court looks at is emotional injury, psychological, economical, and any violations that are of fundamental rights. And this victim ought to have suffered as a result of omission or the acts of a person within the state parties who have agreed to ensure that victims are protected. So, some of the considerations that the court will be looking into is, for example, the nature of crime that the accused person suffered, the relationship of the incident or incidences and the cases that, or the offenses that the accused person was charged and essentially convicted for. The court will look at the different types of harm that the accused persons or the victims suffered as per the evidence that was presented in court at trial and during the submissions for the reparations. But also, most importantly, the court will be able to give us its view on the causal link between the injuries that the victims suffered and the action of the accused persons. It's only when those has been proved that a reparation order can be given. So now one may wonder, what is a reparation order? A reparation order basically will entail eligibility of who is going to benefit. It will also entail the modalities of how these victims are going to be awarded, if at all the court finds it so. It will also entail issues of the nature of interventions. For example, is it medical, is it communal, is it individual? That is really up to the panel of judges to determine. So as far as the case is concerned, we have 103 dual victims which participated in the case during the prosecution case, but also during the submissions, the Victims' Council made an application for another about 5,400 victims for considerations and what we call sample victims, because essentially they are not able to cover up the entire number of victims. So the court would normally consider a sample. So, as mentioned, it's not within my powers to decide whether or not a decision will be made for reparation, but the expectation is that in the event that the judges are convinced with the submission that was presented, then they will today be giving us guidance on how that is going to happen and who is going to be responsible for the reparations of the victims of the crimes of Uganda versus Thomas Kwoyelo. So that is what we should be expecting to listen to today from the panel of judges.